Alright, I've been putting off recording this all week because Sam was home the last couple of days. Um, I have a tradition, although I don't know if you call it a tradition because I don't look forward to it, but in the years I've been alive, there has progressively been a pattern of the 2 weeks prior to my birthday sucking ass. Majorly. And every year I could point to certain circumstances that only could have happened then. There was a year where there was paternity drama. This was like 2, 3 years ago. There was a year where it was, me moving around, and there was, it's just every year I can cite examples. But some years stand out above others. This is one of those years because last week? Today Friday? Last week, our cat went in to get spayed, and for reasons that can only be explained to me as she must have been in some sort of incident prior to you adopting her. Her insides, seriously, were all attached to each other in a way that, medically speaking, shouldn't happen. So she had to be taken immediately to a specialist. We did. She's fine. She's recovering. After 3 days on the pain medication, she was like, okay, I'm good. I want to jump. I want to play. I'm fine. I mean, as soon as I let her out of the carrier when she got home, right to the litter box, right to the food dish and the water. None of the immediate concerns got flagged. She had a healthy appetite. She was plenty thirsty. She had no problems going to the box. All the things you would want to be the case when you bring an animal home from the hospital like that. But we had to leave her there overnight, Tuesday to Wednesday, which was just heartbreaking because you don't want your pets away from you, especially to see a doctor, especially for surgery. So Sam had a very hard time with it, understandably. I mean, Tribble's a daddy cat. She loves Sam so much. She runs to the door when she hears his keys at night. That's not a dog thing. She just loves him that much. So she's home recovering now, but that was the first thing. And that was remarkably expensive. I mean, basically they're asking you to ransom a portion of your financial soul in order for them to physically work on a portion of your heart. And anyone who owns pets or has knows what I'm talking about, okay? You know who you are. So that went fine. And then Sunday or Monday, might have been Monday. I have to look at a calendar. I'm forgetting what day of the week this is here. This is the 28th. So it would have been Monday. We got a phone call saying that Sam's grandfather had unfortunately suffered a massive incident, in this case a stroke. So that was difficult, obviously. And the outlook was not good, the prognosis was not good, the timetable was very, very short. So Wednesday was the funeral. Now, in between, when we heard Monday and the updates that led to us meeting for the funeral on Wednesday, I heard a story about, well, not a story, I mean, it was Sam who told me, so I'm not suggesting it was fiction, but Sam told me about an incident at work where a coworker of his, who is apparently a jackass most of the time, which I wouldn't know because I've been so busy the last few months I haven't been able to get in to volunteer, was in fact being a jackass on Tuesday. And I had to force Sam to tell me point blank, don't come down here. I swear to you, I get so protective of my family, and this isn't even an exaggeration. There have been instances I could cite. It's a miracle. I've never gotten in worse trouble than I have for my protective instincts. But he had to tell me point blank because I was this close to being like, all right, you know what? That's it. I'm getting dressed. I'm coming down there. And so help him. He would have to have God as his sword and shield because nothing will save him from my wrath right now. Okay? I was so mad. And it's not like he said something to Sam point blank that was vindictive or mean or malicious or something like that. But he was picking on Sam in a way that, first of all, no grown human being should do, let alone a person who is markedly older than the other person involved. In this case, we're talking about an age difference of like at least 15 years or more. So for him to turn around and behave like that, oh my God. I nearly went down and whooped his ass. I'm not even joking. I was mad. And then Wednesday was the funeral, and Thursday we went to his parents' house for not terribly long to sit Shiva, which, if you're unfamiliar, is the Jewish mourning custom, which I had this is how bad a Jew I am. I had no clue what to wear, where to go, what to do, how to do it. I had to look it all up on Google. Okay? I had to Google my own freaking heritage. No idea. That's the culture we live in today. But I did the research, and it's fine. I made probably too much food, and I got, like, the ultimate... Sam was almost beaming at his parents' house yesterday when we were there for Shiva, because his grandmother, whose husband just passed away, I made 3 things. Coconut macaroons, because they're gluten-free, and his mom doesn't eat gluten. Challah bread, because it's one of the few breads I can make without really fucking it up. And the morning of the Shiva, I finally had time to make, from scratch, chocolate cupcake mini bites with homemade buttercream frosting. Now, the frosting in and of itself is not hugely special. I've made buttercream frosting before. But this time, in the recipe, if you ever look at it, a recipe for frosting typically calls for some amount of cream. Because it's buttercream frosting. Well, I knew I didn't have any particular kind of cream in the house because I didn't know until the last minute I was making the frosting. It was Sam's idea. So I'm picking through the fridge and I'm like, well, there's coffee creamer, and I'm looking at the ingredients like, I don't know if I can get away with that. But I thought about it, and finally what I ended up using? Vanilla spice eggnog. It came out remarkable. Because if you drink eggnog, especially flavored eggnog, commercially made, runaway glasses. If you drink it, you know, excuse me, runaway, that the flavor can be quite overwhelming. It's usually used in, mixed drinks and when you go wassailing and things like that, which if you don't know the origin of the term, you should look up. It's pretty funny. The flavor can be very strong because it's commercially made, which means they use certain synthetic flavors. It's not the same as it would taste as if you made it in a batch at home. And you have to kind of tone it down. I know people who cut it with coffee, who cut it with other low-fat milk because there's already so much fat itself in the eggnog based on, the recipe, how it's actually made. So I figured, well, it's got a strong enough flavor on its own. So I used it in the buttercream frosting. Not one person had a negative word to say about that frosting. Everybody was like, wow, that's really good. That's so good. And then they tasted it with the cupcakes and they're like, wow, those go really well together. Well, it's chocolate and a vanilla base frosting. Yeah, they go well together. That's how it works, You make chocolate using vanilla, so that's not so surprising, culinarily speaking. But I actually at one point was explaining like the differences between frosting and icing to my mother-in-law. She was asking me all these cooking questions, and in my head I was like, this is backwards. What? Aren't I supposed to be trying to imitate her cooking? I don't understand. But it was, I like answering cooking questions if I know the answer. So that was good. And at one point his dad turns to me and he goes, thank you so much for all the food, but you have to stop. I was like, I'll try, but I can't. It's my dad's fault. You go somewhere, it's a family thing, you feed people. We're Italian, that's what we do. We're gonna feed everybody. So that was the thing. But the reason I started this part of the tangent is that at one point his grandmother turned to me and said, oh, I tried some of your challah. I thought it was very good. And Sam, like, it's like someone turned on the light in a lighthouse, beaming in my face. Like, my grandma likes your cooking, It's like, yeah, I can cook. I mean, there's not a huge number of things I'm awesome at. I can do a lot of stuff, but there's not a lot where I super excel. Right, that may be a misstatement, but cooking is one of the things I actually take pride in being able to do well, because I like to feed people, I like to cook. So he was thrilled. But yeah, we went, and I was glad that made him happy. I was glad people liked the food. There weren't as many people there as I thought there would be. There were easily 2 or 3 times more people at the funeral, which, I mean, I can certainly understand. The number of people who are likely to show up for a funeral when they lose somebody isn't the same as the people who'll show up for the wake, and it certainly isn't the same as people who'll show up for a prolonged grieving process, such as sitting Shiva, which I'd never experienced in my life, as I said. But the people who did come by were polite and friendly and chatty and stuff, and seemed to enjoy the food and things, and I got along well with one of Sam's father's co-workers' wives. We bonded over both having migraines our whole lives, basically. She gave me an idea for a recipe I should try for homemade chocolate macaroons instead of the basic coconut, which is what I've been making. I think I figured it out. I think it's just a matter of using powder instead of whatever. I'm trying to figure out what to have for dinner tonight. I'm thinking I'll probably just get pizza, because Sam's going to the Halloween party at Hunter tonight. And right now I'm sitting around waiting for this frickin' delivery from Nordstrom's. My grandmother buys me too much crap. I forget what's on gift cards from returning shit this woman buys me. So finally the other day I was like, I'm having a terrible week. This is too difficult. I need to do something to make myself happy. I need to spend money, which is a problem for me because I'm not working right now. I don't have money to spend. Yes, okay, I'm married, but you know what? Sam works. I mean, like, work works. He tries really hard to earn his paycheck, even though he's on a yearly salary. He actually works to earn what he gets. I don't feel right turning around spending that kind of money on myself. It's one thing for me to say, honey, I need money for groceries. You know, I'm cooking for both of us, fine. But I'm not going to go frivolity shopping when that's the situation. So I'm searching through my wallet, and I'm like, oh, I have a gift card for Nordstrom's from the stuff I returned at the rack at Union. I wonder how much is on here. It was like $260. And that was one of her smaller shopping expeditions. I hate this woman. Now, lest you think ill of me, free money, free clothing from Nordstrom's, okay, yes, most people would enjoy that. Most people, like my sister Jasmine, would be thrilled if someone wanted to do that for them. My grandmother has no taste, okay? There is a point where she might have a fashion sense, but we're talking about a fashion sense based on the fact that she herself is an octogenarian. This is not fashion sense for someone in their 20s. Granted, I'm turning 28, so I'm almost in my 30s, but that makes me feel old. But it was kind of cosmic on a new subject. I went this morning to get something, and I picked up the mail from yesterday, which, you know, obviously we didn't think to pick up coming home from the Shiva. And there was my new license. So the family loses one member of the name and then legally gains another within a 36. It's probably not as cosmically funny as I think it is. I just think it's one of those timing situations where, like, you go to someone's funeral and then suddenly you realize you've taken their place in the family. I don't know how many people that's happened to. Oh, okay. I've been talking a lot, apparently, because without my glasses on, I can't really read the clock in the corner here. But yeah, that's been this couple of weeks. My birthday is coming up. Then my sister comes home from Italy, and then more funness. So I'll update you as we go, and if anything more interesting happens prior to my birthday to continue the streak, I'll try and make sure I present it as humorously as possible for the enjoyment of someone who didn't have to go through it. Later.